Hi, good morning. We have been studying this book, Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World. We are right now starting chapter 2. And this is page 13. On my book is page 13. So I'm going to invite you that you go with me to the study for today. We finished chapter 1 and it was a very good chapter. Let's go to chapter 2. The title for chapter 2 is Lord, Don't You Care? Have you ever bribed your kids, and I'm going to be reading my notes, have you ever bribed your kids with toys, candies, pizza, or any other way if they behave, to then realize you did not have the money to pay the bribe? That happened to me. Either you don't have the money, you don't have the wallet, you left it at home, whatever the case may be. The first thing out of their mouth is, it's not fair. And I have gone through that not only when you bribe them and you didn't have the money, but what about you bribe them? We're gonna go for pizza or for ice cream or whatever, and then you run out of time. You're running behind schedule, too behind schedule, for important things that you needed to do. And I know our children, grandchildren are always more important than anything else. However, there are things that we cannot evade, we cannot ignore, and they have a due day, and we find ourselves telling the grandbabies I'm sorry, or telling the children I'm sorry, and they are feeling this despair in their hearts. It's not fair. Where Martha in the scripture felt the same way at one point. In Luke chapter 10, verse 40, New Living Translation says, but Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. And then New King James says, but Martha was distracted with much serving. And she approached him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore, tell her to help me. In one version, you can see that she's saying it's not fair. Doesn't seem unfair to you, because it does to me. And in the other version, we see her telling the Lord, don't you care? So usually that's how we feel or how we see it. If we think something is unfair and we don't see that it seems unfair to somebody else, then that person must not care. It just isn't fair. Well, the reality is that life is hard, and hardly ever is fair. I mean, we clean, we do laundry, we cook, we do dishes, we run errands, take care of our husbands, our children, and many other things, and nobody notices all we do. Nobody. At least not enough to say, hey, amazing dinner. Oh, you clean this house in such a wonderful way. It looks wonderful. Nothing. Nobody. Nobody celebrates our meals or thank us for our efforts. And I'm not saying a random every now and then, but it's not like they are celebrating our daily efforts. Some of us also work outside the house or have our own businesses or ministries, and nobody even notices the many hats we most constantly interchange. Honestly, with so many hats, we may as well have a few extra heads. But nobody applauds, nobody celebrates, and this is what we have to go through in daily basis. And I'm talking to the ladies, and I know that also this applies to many men out there, because I know that many of you also have many hats that you need to interchange as well. But ladies, you can identify with moments like this, and we will hear ourselves, probably not out loud, but in our minds saying, it's not fair, don't you care? Because life is tough, it's difficult, and we have a lot to do, a lot going. Martha is not alone when she asked Jesus, Lord, don't you care? We can relate and totally identify with her bitterness, isolation, and frustration. We certainly do. She was having a serious hard time in the kitchen, working hard for others that seem not to notice or care. Sound familiar? Because I'm pretty sure, again, I know that if you have lived more than but few years in this earth, you have experienced this at one point or another. And I'm not talking about not doing things from the bottom of our heart, like if we're doing it for the Lord. At one point or another, that happened that we feel, is this person caring? Even it is that they are demanding that we complete a specific task for them, ignoring the many other things that we have going. Have you ever had a parent or a child or your husband, a grown-up child or your husband, because even grown-up children do that, disappointed at you or upset because you didn't accomplish something for them that you said you were going to help them with or do with them or for them, and you're like, you don't care that I have all these things on my table. You have not the same amount. If you know the person you're talking to, like your child or your husband, or it is a parent or a relative, and you're saying, do you care? Do you care? This is not fair. But it had happened. And it happens. It's life. Martha have all these visitors, around 70 of them, roughly. And she went from smiling in her living room, coming in, glad to see you, to be resentful in the kitchen in no time. And this happened to us. We go from smiling at life and at situations and at serving and at honoring the Lord through blessing others to be bitter and resentful. We go from smiling in ministry and rejoicing in serving the Lord and the people to be resentful for the ungratefulness or the backstabbing. It happened. And sometimes it feels so unfair. And we also find ourselves, if not saying it, at least thinking, Lord, don't you care? Don't you care that this is happening? And now, why? Well, she's doing all the work while her sister is just enjoying herself. Not fair at all. And this is how exactly we feel. We are doing all this work, and then sometimes the result or how people pay us back is not what we were expecting after all we were doing, or at least for the Lord to somehow give us some sort of reward, but it doesn't happen. So the scales of justice seem that we go through life with this invisible set of scales that weigh what happens to us against what others experience. And so we waste time balancing those scales every single day, balancing and searching what is fair and not unfair and not fair, what is equal or unequal, what is just or unjust. I know I certainly have been there. The problem is that we may end up having a distorted view of reality, reading between the lines, finding hidden meanings what they are not. You might be finding, oh, she meant this, or I know he meant this, and it's not. But we will definitely find ourselves doing that. And we will turn every action into a personal attack. I know she said that because of me. Oh, I know she's attacking me. Oh, I know what she was trying to do. And the other person might be like, oh, what are you talking about? I wasn't attacking you. No, I know. You said it because of me. Have you ever found yourself that you're saying something and a person jump at you to clarify something that might be related to what you're saying, but it's not? And you're like, I wasn't talking about you, or I wasn't saying this because of you, but they take it personal. Every time that happens, that's what that person is doing, is feeling attacked by you and or me, and you're, I wasn't referring to the, no, in case you say it for me. What that person is doing is this: they are reading between the lines, or they are finding meanings where they are not, or they're turning your actions into a personal attack. We may easily or outweigh everything good in our life and tip the scales against us. If we go through life doing that, everything, even the good stuff, is going to be bad. Even when a person paid you a compliment, it's not a compliment. They want something. We cannot go through life being naive, but we cannot go through life. We certainly cannot go through life with this spirit, with this mentality, because we're not going to have a happy life. We're going to have a very paranoid life, if you may. Listen, if we look for injustice, we will find it. We will. We must lower the bar so our expectations in what we consider fair do not disappoint us. And may God save us. May God save. How do I say this? Yeah, may God save us if someone out there is not measuring the same way, measuring us the same way, with the same expectations. In other words, oh God, forbid that someone out there is not following our scale. This cannot be. The three deadly D's. There is a tale of a priest in a small town that was so effective in his job that the devil, listen to this, the devil himself assigned two demons to deviate him from his good work. They tried everything, those two demons, without success. They wanted to deviate this priest from his work, and he was amazing. They go back to Satan and explain it all. Satan told them, tell him his brother was promoted to bishop. Sound too simple, but the demons decided to try it. In no time, he was sad, complaining, and in despair. It was just not fair. His brother didn't work as hard, and he was a bishop. Satan is not too creative, but with his old tricks, he is still successful nowadays. The three deadly D's of destruction are as effective today as they were in the Garden of Eden and in Martha's kitchen. What are they? Well, these are three D's of destruction. One is distraction, the second one is discouragement, and the third one is doubt. Distraction, discouragement, and doubt. These tactics always work. To get distracted is take your eyes out of God and place them on the circumstances. If we believe our happiness depends on what is happening in our surroundings, we are doomed. Or maybe if we hear good news about someone else and we think it's not fair, that will do it. Discourage take place, and the next thing we know, God doesn't care. So now doubt will handle the rest. We, with these three in charge, we will ruin ourselves. And this is important to know. We cannot allow distraction to deviate our eyes to the circumstances, because then discouragement will come. And once we are discouraged, the next thing is we doubt. Was I called for this ministry? Was this the man that I was supposed to marry? What did I do okay in having all these kids? Or, is this the right job? And that is doubt. Once discouragement comes and now you feel, you don't want to deal with this no more, or this is it, or you had it, then comes the doubt, and all these questions are going to come. These are the tactics that the enemy is using, and they always work. Get distracted, get discouraged, and have doubt. A distracted heart. Martha was distracted with all her duties. Distractions can make us lose focus, even good distractions. Be careful with good distractions. No, this is not a bad thing. Even good distractions can make us lose focus. Too busy can bring about an overwhelming result. The Greek word used to describe busy Martha, how busy Martha was, is perispao, which means overoccupy about something. Overoccupy about something. Also, the Strong's Concordance defines it to drag all around. Have you ever found yourself like that? Like you're really doing stuff, but you're dragging everything around. We all have been there at one point or another. It is interesting that the preparations that Martha was working on are described as diaconia, and that was a New Testament word for ministry. The word that described what Martha was doing in the kitchen and preparing everything in the original is diaconia, and that is actually a word that describes ministry. Wow. So even in ministry, we can be Marthas, doing things but not as unto the Lord. We become bitter in ministry, and that can be detrimental and bring about despair. No difference in our day by day routines. We can find ourselves also feeling that it is a diaconia, it is a ministry, because actually our first ministry is our family. So serving them and doing things for them is part of it. But the question is, how difficult, how much are we dragging all the duties related to that ministry? Being a parent is a ministry, being a wife, being a mother, being a daughter. So, we find ourselves just like Martha. We need to refocus. We need to go back from whatever is distracting us physically or mentally. And listen, your distraction and my distraction could be as simple as a memory, a bad memory. Somebody did something to you, somebody said something to you, and it was bad, and it marked you for life. It damaged you, affected you for life. Well, that's your distraction. And you'll be surprised that maybe the enemy is not going to bring other distractions in your life, but maybe the distraction that he's going to bring about discouragement and to bring about doubt is going to be your past. It's going to be, I don't know, your past sin or your mistakes or your wrongdoings or somebody else's mistakes or wrongdoings or sins against you. And we need to take a moment and tell the enemy, you're not going to distract me, take my mind into that, because that is going to bring about discouragement, and discouragement is going to bring about doubt, and that's not a place I want to be. So, once we are distracted, the next step is to find ourselves in discouragement. We will lose our perspective and our defenses, because what can be actually a protection, a defense, is gone. The problem is that we will accomplish things but feel useless, hopeless, and abandoned. In 1 Kings 18, we're going to find Elijah felt that kind of discouragement. From one day to the other, distraction made him fear, and discouragement made him hide. Let's look in 1 Kings 19, 4-7. We're going to look at verse 4 first. But in the New King James, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat under a broom tree. And he prayed that he might die and said, "It is enough. Now, Lord, take my life, and I am not better, for I am not better than my fathers." And the New Living Translation said, then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. "I had had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died." Like Martha, Elijah was having a don't you care moment there. He decided that it was enough. What is interesting to me, this is what is interesting to me, is how he is asking the Lord to take his life, when that is exactly what Jezebel offered. She sent him, she sent a message to him, promising she was going to kill him. And he ran for his life. So, does he really want to die? Do we really want to die? Do we really want to quit? Do we really want to not do this or not do that? Because sometimes we're expressing something based on some feelings of discouragement, but really deep inside, that's not what we want. This is where Elijah was. And the Lord, I can only imagine the Lord looking at us and listening and going, yeah, sure. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, I hear you. Because he knows our heart. He knows better. So, does he really want to die? Because if that is what he really wants, he should be happy. Death is on his way. No, he doesn't want to die. He is depressed. He's down. But he's obviously not ready to die. I know some of us can identify or, feeling so low that we think we want to die. When we do not want to die, we are just distracted and discouraged. And it will do us a lot of good if we learn to identify the difference and to know that in moments like that, we just need to refocus. Just refocus, and you and I will be having a total different perspective in our lives and in life in general. Like Martha or Elijah, we can be throwing self-pity parties, hosting them often, and finding that nobody wants to come to those parties. We may excuse ourselves from the daily routine of life to find that we are alone and consumed at the end. Discouragement can steal our hope, our vision, and our dreams for tomorrow. Discouragement can do that. We can feel that there's no vision, there is no hope, and there are not any dreams for tomorrow. And so, we see this with Elijah. 1 King 19, 4-7. Now we're going to read verses 5, 6, and 7. Then as he lay and slept under a broom tree, suddenly an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." Then he looked, and there by his head was a cake baked on coals and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came back the second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." That was New King James. New Living Translation said, "Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, 'Get up and eat.' He looked around, and there beside his head was some bread baked on hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. Then the angel of the Lord came again and touched him and said, 'Get up and eat some more, and or the journey ahead will be too much for you. Will be too much for you.' An angel visited Elijah and encouraged him to see that what he was feeling was not real. How beautiful when an angel of the Lord, that angel could be having a name as mom or daughter or husband or wife or your children or your pastor or a leader or your co-worker, your grandbaby. It could have whatever name, but sometimes that people can be used by the Lord to be like an angel to you, to bring you to reality, to open your eyes. This angel let him see that it was his reality, Elijah's reality, but it was not the reality. It was not the end for him. And this happened to us. We might be feeling, this is the reality I'm living. No, this is your reality, the one that you feel it is their reality. But our reality doesn't necessarily have to be their reality. Sometimes our reality, which we are going through, is real, it's there, but it's because of what I just mentioned. It's because we have been distracted, lost focus, now we are discouraged, and now we are in doubt. And that's why we are in that reality. But if we actually refocus their reality, what really could be then comes about. And this is what the Lord wants. He wants to move us from our reality that is probably being fed by circumstances and doubt, and take us to their reality that He Himself have prepared for us, which is what He was doing with Elijah. He was letting him know, listen, eat and move on, because this is not it. Elijah even ignored the angel the first time, and the angel insisted. I don't know who your angel is. It could be your spouse, your children, grandchildren, a relative, your spiritual leader, or the Lord Himself, like for Martha. It was Jesus Himself. Jesus Himself opened Martha's eyes to the reality that she was not seeing. God can use anyone He wants to use, but at the end, it's up to us if we are to listen or if we are going to let discouragement take a toll. We can let discouragement take its toll or not. It's up to us. Are we going to take refuge in Him or not? If we don't, we will find that discouragement can bring about doubt, and we don't want that. Cry. Listen, cry. Scream. Have a self-pity party if you must. Have party hats. This is a thing that I always said, you feel that bad? Have a party. Have hats. Order pizza. Go with a little thing here going woo, 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 around the house. Celebrate your misery if you must. But at the end, don't stay there. Have your moment and then move on. Move on. I advise you today to seek help. Seek the Lord. Lift up your head. Whatever it takes, move out of there, of that moment of discouragement.